Hey folks, this is Vince with Dad's Gaming Addiction, and today we're going to quickly check out Concordia. This game is for 2 to 5 players for ages 13 and up, with the average playtime being about 90 minutes. So this game takes place during the reign of the Roman Empire, and I know what you're thinking, large armies, large battles. Not the case with this game. This game is an economic struggle, not a military one, and players will be trying to gather resources, build settlements on the board, and gain victory points in order to win the game. But on top of that, there's a unique deck building mechanic in this game that allows you to gather powers of sorts as you play. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and take a quick look at the components and see how the game is played. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of little components, and game setup is fairly involved. In fact, the game comes with a separate pamphlet that explains how the game is set up, and this is, yeah, again, outside of the rulebook, mind you, which is kind of weird. But before I go into all of that and give you a Cliff Notes version, here is a quick look at the box. So those of you that want to see what box inserts look like. Now, there is no box insert, as you can see, but there are plenty of baggies. Okay, so no complaints there. As long as there's baggies, I'm cool with that. And of course, you've got some player boards here, one of each player color. I went ahead and set up red real quick to give you an idea of what that looks like. You've got these settlements here. These settlements are placed onto these various cities here as you buy them and put them out onto the map here. So that's used for that, to sort of gain territory or capture territory. Other players can take that territory too. You can share territory like that. You've also got these ships. And you've got these people meeples, I guess you could call them. Maybe I should copyright that. But anyway, getting back to this, you've got 2 ships and 2 people on your player board. And then on the map, you're going to put 1 people meeple and 1 ship meeple on the Roma space. Now, players start on a city, but actually throughout the game, they're only going to be traveling on these dotted lines. The ship can only travel on the sea routes, which are the blue lines, the blue dotted lines. And the people meeple can only travel on the brown dotted lines, okay? They're not actually going to be landing on these cities. So, again, everyone gets a player board, gets some starting resources, the warehouse is set up, each player gets some starting denarii or coin. The start player gets 5, the next player gets 6, the next player gets 7, the next player in line gets, that many coin, plus the Perfectus Magnus card, which is sort of like a special ability that they can use throughout the game. Each player also gets a deck of cards that are unique to their color. Now, there are no advantages that one color has over the other. They're all the same type of card. So you've got a deck for red, and this is where the deck building element comes into play, by the way. But you've got black, you've got blue, you've got green, you've got yellow. So each player is going to get a deck of their own color. There are some neutral cards, and I have them set up here, but there's Roman numerals on the back. There's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and you've got 1 and 2 over there. And basically, you're only going to use the Roman numerals equal to the number of players in the game. So if in a 2-player game, you're only going to use the 1 and 2 cards. You're going to put the 1 on top and the 2 on bottom. If you had a 3-player game, you'd put the 3 on the very bottom, okay? But in this case, there's only 2 players, so I have the 1 and 2, 1 on top, 2 on bottom. You're going to deal so many cards from that deck and lay them out. There's some spaces here along the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's some spaces underneath here, which tells you what the extra cost is of buying that card. They start out cheap over here, and then as they move to the right, they get more and more expensive. And the card will also tell you what its ability is and how much it costs. So you've got tools and brick, for example. So that's what the card costs. But you also, and on top of that, you have to look underneath to see what any additional cost might be. Again, there's nothing here because that's like the cheapest slot you could have, and then to the right there's 2 cloth over there, which is the most expensive commodity in the game. Speaking of expensive commodity, there are different commodities. You've got, like I said, there's a lot of stuff here. You've got a little guide here on your player board. Bricks are 3 denarii, 4 are food, 5 are tools, 6 is wine, 7 is cloth. So cloth is the most expensive good in the game, just to give you an idea of what all the different resources are. You've also got a huge map. It's double-sided. One side is the Italia side, which is what you see here. It supports 2 to 4 players. The other side is the Imperium side, I think it's called. It supports 3 to 5 players. And you've also got a bunch of these tokens. One side is a letter, one side is a good. You're going to take all of the A's, shuffle them up, and put them on the A spaces on the board. So these cities have letters on them too. So you're going to mix all the A's, put them on the A spaces. So this particular city here may not be brick the next time you play. Maybe it'll be food. So you never know. So this is going to be randomized like so. And then you're going to take the most expensive good of that province, and a province, I butcher these names. So like this Transpandana, whatever it's called, I'm just going to call it the Brown Province because I don't want to offend anybody. For those of you that are still around since the Roman Empire. But I'm going to call it the Brown Province. And basically, you're going to take a look and see what the most expensive commodity is of that province. So you've got wine and food here. And again, you've got brick, food, tools, wine, and cloth. Wine is the second most expensive commodity. And because wine is the most expensive commodity in this province, you're going to take the wine token and put it on the matching space. There's a little chart up here. And you're going to do that for every province in the game. Now on the reverse side, there is some coins. You're going to ignore that for right now. But the most expensive commodity in a province, there's a matching token for it. Just put it up here. And I think I covered everything. I always forget one or two things. But each player also has some markers here to mark their progress along the victory point track here. You've got this card here that tells you what the game-ending condition is. The player who purchases the last personality card, which is those cards up there, or builds his 15th city, ends the game and receives Concordia, which is worth 7 victory points. All other players now take their last turn and turn order from this player. You've also got some reference cards here. One card is sort of like telling you what the points are worth based on the different sets that you're collecting. This is a set collecting game. Each of these personality cards have a little god listed on them, like Minerva. You've got Saturn, Mars, and so on. And based on the sets that you are collecting, you'll get various victory points for how your empire currently stands at that point in time. And that's where the bulk of your victory points are going to be coming from. On the reverse side, it tells you how to build these cities. You've got, for example, in order to build a brick city, or to build a settlement on this brick city here, it's going to cost you 1 food and 1 denarii, okay? But if you were to put it, say, here, there's tools on that location. If you go to, there's a little tools symbol here. So that's 1 brick, 1 tools, 3 denarii. So it gets more expensive depending on the resource that you're building on. And again, I think I've covered everything, so apologies if I didn't. And let's just quickly now show you how the gameplay works. Despite game setup being somewhat involved, the flow of play is actually pretty easy. On a player's turn, they pick 1 card that is in their hand, and they play it to their discard pile and activate its action. So, for example, you've got an architect, okay? You can move your colonists, then build in cities adjacent to your colonists if you want to. So you've got 2 colonists at the game start. Now, again, they start on the Roma space, but after that, they only move on these dotted lines. So you could do something like this, or like this, something like that. So now this piece here is on the path between Roma and, yeah, that city, because I can't pronounce it. And then you've got Olbia down here. So that you could do that. And then it says, then build in cities adjacent to your colonists. So you can pay your resources, based on the costs on this card here, to put cities onto these locations if you want to. So you can do that. Okay, and then once you play a card, again, it goes into your discard pile. Now there is a card in here that allows you to take cards from your discard pile and put it back into your hand. So, but for the time being, you won't have access to this power anymore. And that's where the diplomat can actually help you out, because the diplomat use an opponent's top face-up personality card in their discard pile. So let's say you've already played the architect, but someone else did play the architect, and it's on top of their discard pile. You can play this diplomat and copy their action. And you can do that. So that's what the diplomat does. Mercator, you've got take 3 Cessatari. Oh, the Cessatari. I think I called them denarii earlier. I thought denarii was the appropriate currency. But anyway, I'm just going to call them coin so I don't mess that up anymore. So take 3 coin and trade up to 2 types of goods. Okay, so you can take 3 coin from the bank and then up to 2 types of goods. So again, each good has a coin value associated with them on your player board. So you can trade in money to acquire these goods from the bank. So you can do that. You've got the prefect, turn over 1 active bonus marker to take the province bonus, and then what the province produces. So basically, the way this works is, let's say I had a settlement here. You don't even need a settlement to do this, but for example purposes, let's say I do have a city in Olbia here, and that's the province of Corsica. So basically, if this is showing tools at the moment, again, there's a coin side and a tool side. If the coin side means it's spent, and that's what's going to happen at the end of this example. But you're going to take a look at Corsica. It's the tools, because tools is the most expensive out of the 2. But you're going to get 1 tool from the bank. which, yeah, I already did. Okay, so here's one tool. I'm going to add that to my warehouse. And then on top of that, whatever this province produces, if you have a settlement on any of these two cities, it'll also produce a good. So in addition to the tools I got from this token up here, I can also produce one food because I have a city on that particular area. So I'm going to add that. Just to give you another example, okay, let's say that I had a city over here, okay, and then I wanted to I played the prefect here, and I take a look, and it's light green province, and there is a food token up here. That's the most expensive good because there's food and brick. So I would get one food based on this token. I'd flip it over. And then I'd also get one food for having a city on this particular area here. Now, your opponents can also gain resources. Let's say that blue had a little city here, down here, and you activated this province. Red would get one food for the token up here. Flip that over, and then you'd get one food for having a city here, and then blue would get one brick for having a city here. So, you can actually get resources on somebody else's turn if you happen to be in the same province when they activate that ability and choose that province to get resources. And after you're done, you're going to flip these over to the coin side. And there is cards in here that allow you to flip those back over to the reverse side. Or reactivate all bonus markers to take the coins as a cash bonus. So instead of doing this upper part, instead of gaining resources, you can reactivate all bonus markers to take the coins as a cash bonus. So you can flip all of these coins back over to the reverse side and get that many coins. So there was 2 on that side, 2 on that side. So if I were to flip them over, I'd get 4 coins from the bank. So you can do either or with this card. And again, I'm giving you a Cliff Notes version here, folks. Another prefect card. Senator, purchase up to 2 new personality cards and put them into your hand. Again, this is where these other cards. So you're building your hand with these cards. Whenever you purchase them, they go into your hand. But each card has a cost associated with them. So tools and bricks in red here. You've got this mason costs food. But in addition to whatever is listed on the card, you have to look down here. If there's a question mark, it's a good of your choice. Some will actually specify cloth, for example. So the cards will get more expensive to the right as they go. I already explained all that. So you can buy up to 2 personality cards and put them into your hand. So I could do something like this. I can buy these 2 by paying resources to the bank, put them into my hand, and then these cards slide over like so, and there we go. New ones are drawn from the deck. And eventually you'll get through the 1s and then into the 2s. If you have a 3-player game, eventually get into the 3s, and so on. And there's different cards in each of the different decks. So there's that. I pulled some extras here. Tribune. Take back all your personality cards and gain 1 Cesatari or coin for each card taken in excess of 3. Include the Tribune in the count. In addition, you can build 1 colonist in Roma for 1 food and 1. So you can actually take... You can do 1 colonist, which are these people meeples, as I keep calling them, or you can do a ship and put them in Roma. This is sort of like the start space where all meeples spawn. So in addition to taking cards from your discard pile, gaining money in the process, putting them back into your hand, you can also purchase new colonists by doing that. And by doing so, you're actually freeing space up in your warehouse so you can add more resources to it. So it might be beneficial for you to actually add more people to the map. So that's what the Tribune card does. It basically allows you to bring everything back. And then again, you've got some other cards in the other neutral cards here that I didn't go through, like the Smith. Produces tools in all your tool cities, which is kind of nice. So you don't have to just activate it through the, the Prefect. You can use the Smith. The Mason produce bricks in all of your brick cities. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Like that. And then there's other cards up here. You got more colonists. Here's a colonist card. Here we go. Build new colonists in your cities, each for food and tools, or take 5 Cesatari plus 1 per colonist. So, long story short, without going through all the cards, there are different personality cards up here that you can add to your hand. You can purchase, add them to your hand, and they can give you different abilities to use on your turn. And again, you'll be playing these cards, adding them to your discard pile. There's a card in here that lets you take them all back, get some coin, and you'll repeat the process. So it's not like a regular deck builder where you have 5 cards, you play what you can, they go into a discard pile, you get 5 more cards, and then eventually you go through those and then you add them all back. It's not the case. There's actually a card in here that lets you take back the discard pile early. So it's sort of like deck building, but not. Okay, with regard to scoring, as you can see, there's a few different things going on here. So I'm going to show you some of the stuff from the manual because I don't have a photographic memory. There is some intermediate scoring. If a player plays his Tribune card for the first time in the game, in order to take his cards back into his hand, he immediately performs a personal intermediate scoring. He scores all his cards as described below for the final scoring and tallies his victory points on the victory point track. So you can earn some victory points during the game through this intermediate scoring section. Then you've got final scoring, and this is where the set collecting comes into play. So like I said, these personality cards have little god names listed on, like Jupiter, for example. You've got Jupiter on the bottom. And based on how many you get, that'll increase the number of points you get for that particular. So if you got a lot of Jupiter cards, for example, for each house inside a non-brick city, the player receives 1 victory point. So if you have, let's say you had 1 city on the board in a food, you had 1 city on a food, that's it. However, you had 2 Jupiter cards, so that would be 2 victory points. Obviously, you'd have more than that, but as an example, it gives you an idea. You'll get more points the more god type you have in your deck. So you may want to specialize in 1 or 2 particular gods, in order to get a lot of points. Vesta is another example. The value of all goods in the storehouse, usual price as depicted, is added to the cash money. Then the player receives 1 victory point per full 10 Cesatari. Any fractions are ignored, so that's sort of like a money bonus. Saturn, for each province with at least 1 of their houses, the player receives 1 victory point. Let's see, Mars, for each of his colonists on the game board, the player receives 2 victory points, and so on. So again, you can, this is where the set collecting comes into play. You're going to be trying to collect different personality cards with the gods that you're trying to look for, and those gods will determine how many points you get in different categories as you're building your empire. So a little bit of thought is needed there as well. And then the player with the most victory points at the end of the game will win. Okay, so there you have it, a very brief look at Concordia. It's important to stress that I did not cover all of the rules found in the manual. This was just to give you a general overview so that you could see how the game was played. As far as what I thought, I think this is a really cool game. I like its simplicity and how the gameplay flows, but it's also very deep at the same time. On your turn, all you're doing is playing 1 card and resolving its effect. That's it. The rest of the game is you trying to think ahead to say, okay, well, I've got these gods in my hand, in my deck, and different gods have different bonuses. So it appears that I have a lot of this god that gives me a bonus to how many colonists I have on the board. So A, maybe I'm going to want to put more colonists on the board, and B, collect more cards of that god type, regardless of what its ability does. So you could acquire these cards for their specific abilities, for their immediate bonuses, or you could plan ahead even further for their god bonus at the end and try and collect a bunch of 1 god. So you can multiply it by that number at the end of the game and get a crap ton of points. So there's a lot of thinking involved with what you can get immediately with these card effects and what you can get at the end of the game based on the god that is listed on the bottom here. And again, the more you get of that god type, the more of a multiplier that occurs whenever you're trying to figure out your score. So a lot of this game is, immediate planning, thinking ahead. It's very deep. So I really like that. But gameplay flows very quickly in terms of player turns. Like a player turn, you're not going to be flipping through the rule trying to go, okay, can I do this on my turn? Can I do this on my turn? Can I do this on... No, that's not the case. What you're going to be doing instead is, what should I do? You're not going to be thinking about, what your limitations are. You're going to be thinking about what your best play is. And to me, I think that is the hallmark of a good game. Easy rules, but deep strategy / gameplay. Intermediate to / deep. I mean, it's not as deep as some other games I've played, but this will require you to think ahead, because again, you've got these bonuses here on the cards and so on. So, in terms of flow of play and everything, that's excellent. I also like the art in this game. Like, everything is laid out, very colorful. The pieces are well done. I can see everything. I have bad eyesight, so I can see everything. A number of baggies came with the game, and that's always a plus in my book. There's even a reference to each of the personality cards in the rule book, and that's where the bulk of this manual is. Game overview is just this little section here. That's it. Like, this is the game over. This tells you how to play the game. The rest of the manual is the personality card. Personality card for the Tribune. Personality card architect, diplomat, senator, consul, specialists, and then any further rules, scoring, game end. And so the bulk of this manual is explaining what these cards do. So the game, again, is not all that difficult to play, but it's a nice touch. Game setup is on a separate pamphlet, as I explained, and I do believe there's another thing that came with the game. I didn't go through it all, but it's sort of like a history of the game and everything, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I would recommend Concordia to... I don't know if I'd recommend this to casual gamers because there is a 90-minute playtime, but if you are a casual gamer that's looking to flex your muscles a little bit and get into more complex games, I think this would be a good stepping stone because, again, the flow of play is easy, but the strategy element is a little bit more involved. So, and again, the 90-minute playtime may not appeal to everybody. You know, there are some casual gamers out there that only have, you know, the patience to sit here for 30 minutes and that's it and play a quick card game. Whereas others are more inclined to sit down for 90 minutes and play a game such as this. But if you are looking for a relatively deep strategy game, intermediate to deep strategy game, and but you're also looking for a game with very simple rules, then I would check out Concordia because, you know, everything about it is just, that's what this is. That's exactly what this is, and the components are good to boot. If you guys want to see my written review, you can, www.dadsgamingaddiction.com. If you haven't already, subscribed to my YouTube channel. That way you can keep up to date with any new content I'm going to publish. This is Vince, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.